Infrastructure is crumbling and the problems are only getting worse. The pressure to find solutions is hot. Let's talk about why American cities have no water, no electricity, and no money to fix their infrastructure problems. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast, hosted by Chad Smeltzer.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. My name is Chad Smeltzer. I am your host. Today is our first episode launch on our podcast. We're so happy that we got this thing launched. It's been in discussion for a number of years, and our goal is to help government officials and construction engineering companies throughout the world connect and talk about infrastructure problems and how we can solve them and bring solutions and ideas to the table so that we really can fix a big problem, which is crumbling infrastructure in our communities. And with that, our first guest is Michael Simpson with the Simpson Company. He has been with the company for over 39 years. He is the Chief Executive Officer. The company employs over 80 employees. They're located in Valparaiso, Indiana, and they have numerous offices throughout the United States. Their focus is on technical services for water and wastewater utilities. They work on water loss control, asset management, wastewater services, and they deliver solid technical solutions for water distribution and wastewater collection systems. Their goal is to deliver to the public the implicit faith that the water is always safe to drink. And with that said, let's begin the interview. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. My name is Chad Smeltzer, the CEO and founder of BigPyramid.com. With us today is our guest, Mike Simpson from Simpson Company. He's the CEO, and he is making a big difference in the water and wastewater industry. Thank you for joining us there, Mike.
Thank you, Chad. It's a pleasure to be here. Look forward to chatting about infrastructure and the water and sewer industry and what's happening and what the hot topics are.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to be an exciting day.
It is. It's super exciting because I love the history of Simpson. All right. I went through and looked at your website, looked at the history, and it looks like was it your grandpa, your dad? Like who started the Simpson business?
Simpson Company started 43 years ago,
Okay.
and it was started by my father.
Awesome.
My father started in the water business as a pipe salesman back in 1956, and he worked for numerous entities in pipe and water meters. And his last gig when he was working for someone, he was the general manager of AirVac, the vacuum sewage business down in Rochester, Indiana, where I grew up and graduated high school from. And in 1979, he decided he wanted to form his own business, and he started Simpson Company. And he was a manufacturer's rep, and it started really going. And so in 1983, he convinced me that since I had been in school for a couple years, didn't like it, and was going from job to job trying to figure out what to do with my life as a 23-year-old. And he and my mother convinced me that I'd be good at this, and I started with him in February of '83, and then a couple of years later, my brother-in-law Dan was just finishing at Purdue, and he joined the company, and we decided to provide the services ourselves instead of just being a rep company.
Nice.
Most of it had to do with, I know this will shock you, control.
Makes sense.
We sell a job, and as I always said, sell a job and they do something dumb, and I got yelled at.
Right.
And by the customer because I was the point of contact. And we decided that if we did it ourselves, then we knew who did it and had control over those people. That was our running joke. And so my brother-in-law and I, there was the three of us, and off to the races we went.
That's
and
awesome.
here we are today in 2022 with close to 80 employees and multiple offices across the or from the eastern part of the country, and we're just big into all kinds of things in the water and sewer business in services for utilities.
Yeah,
So
no, that's amazing story. Like the history of the family and next generations taking it over. That is amazing. Do you have a predecessor to you coming up in the future? Just curious.
talking to got a couple a niece and a nephew that are the right age group. My niece works for Nicor over in Illinois. She's a PE. My nephew works over in LaPorte in a logistical warehouse for HarperCollins, trying to see if they're convincing them that this kind of crazy lifestyle is something for them. So we're working on that succession plan to see if we can move it to generation next.
Now, when you say crazy lifestyle, let's dig into that a little bit more because I'm in that space, you're in that space, and I'd love to know your interpretation of that.
Well, I always chuckle when I watch TV and listen. I always equate it to listening to politicians pontificate about this, that, and the other thing, and people don't have a clear understanding what entrepreneurship really is and what owning a business really is, and it may look all really cool from the outside, but there's a lot of stress and a lot of I'm going to say joys and tears all at the same time.
Oh yeah,
And as I say, I've had my share of laying awake at night wondering if there's enough money in the checkbook to cover payroll.
yeah,
We've been down all those roads, and it's not for the faint of heart.
yeah.
It can be a very, very stressful lifestyle. So some people see it, it doesn't interest them, and I respect that. And others of us are, such as yourself, and I know myself, are mentally unstable
That's
and
what I was
thus
gonna
crazy enough to do
say.
this,
It's,
and
yeah,
don't think anything of it because not, as I always laugh, I'm really not right in the head, and that's what, causes issues.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. It's amazing that well, like they say, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? It's just the way the
oh yeah,
industry is. It's like, oh, we want to make all this money, but go ahead, take the risk, start your company, leave your company where you're making lots of money, and
yeah,
it's
oh
cool.
yeah, it's and lots of money is a relative term
It's
because
not what everybody
yeah,
thinks.
it doesn't exactly work that way. It sounds good though. On
It
paper, it
does.
sounds
Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
thinks. So, all
yeah.
right, in your experience, all right, let's take it from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. What trends have you seen the industry move into from back then to
Since I started 39 years ago, I mean, the trend has really been, I'll use it, it's technology, and I call it computerization. I'm sure there's much fancier terms,
yeah,
but that's the trend I've watched in the industry, and where we are today. I mean, I look even for our company, we've gone from everything on a printed form and a pencil and a clipboard to everything's on a tablet, or for, as I laugh, for our younger technicians with fantastic eyesight, they can do it on a cell phone.
right.
I can't see that well. Even a tablet has to be zoomed in. So, and I chuckle about that, but we've gone, it's the technology change and the technology in some of our spaces, like in the water loss space, in the leak detection area. In 77, the first real correlator was created and patented for leak detection. And today, this generation, here we are in 2022, coming up on 50 years later,
Yeah,
the the base is still there of the original algorithms and invention, but they've now improved everything and the algorithms, and it's been technology. So technology is driving, and now with the newest and latest technology that we promote, that we use, electroscan, is really just kind of blowing the doors off of the leakage world, both in water and sewer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing I see is technology
Right.
is really changing the entire dynamic
Yeah.
of the industry.
100% with you.
But yeah, and then I tell people though that this is a long-term career path and a place where you can make a solid, decent living, be it working for a utility or a private business like ours, uh, because no matter how much technology we have, until they invent the robot that can do it, it takes people. It still has a human component. You need people to run the equipment, to do the work. I don't think we're quite at the clone stage, as I was watching the Star Wars marathon over the Labor Day weekend.
Right.
We're not quite at that stage where the robots will do all the stuff for us yet.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it could be something. Who knows down the road? That's for sure.
Oh, sure. I'm sure things will change. Automation is always changing, but I believe in our business, just like and most infrastructure things, even when you talk roads, bridges, sidewalks, everything, that group, you still need people.
Yeah.
You can't, there's cool machinery, does a lot of cool things, still requires a person.
Yeah,
Requires a person.
let's talk about people, because we are in this phase right now where we have this gap of skilled labor, right, coming into the construction space, more particularly. And I would assume that you're kind of dealing with the impacts of labor shortages just like everybody else. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Same problems. We've got a couple unfilled positions open in Indianapolis. So any of the listeners, when they hear this podcast, you live in the Indianapolis area, go to our website and apply. We're looking for people. And we, even around in even our Illinois facilities, our East Coast facilities, we're always on the lookout. There's, because growth continues, and it has been difficult with so many people deciding to leave the workforce, or whatever. Hopefully it appears people are starting to come back. They're starting to re-engage, and that's a good thing. And that's when I say this is I was just reading an article this morning talking about out in the New York, I think it was in New York, it's East Coast area, and it's a steel erector contractor, and they're offering a high school degree, 18-year-old, $47 an hour.
Wow.
And it's now I think that's the end after you complete their apprentice program, but it looked very interesting. And that's what I say about our business is this is with our training programs, you may start at $21 an hour, but I guarantee you within 12 months, that's $23 an hour. And within 24 months to 36 months, somewhere in that time frame, if you complete all the training tasks, it's $25 an hour job with full benefits, with all the bells and whistles and dental and all the other stuff that goes with it, as I call it.
Yeah, the stuff
and
people don't think about.
It's a real job and a career that, no different than our friends that work at the mill, because we live in Northwest Indiana and other places. The wages are competitive with that.
Nice.
We try to be relatively competitive and, try to offer maybe not exactly the same as fancy of benefits because we're small, but we certainly do our best. But I tell people that, You don't have to go to college to work here. We have plenty of college graduates that work here, but you don't have to go to college
Yep.
to work here. That's a misnomer.
Yeah.
This is just like, I'm sure you talk to a lot of people, chat around, and there are a lot of places out there in the trades and everywhere else that are saying, hey, need you to graduate from the local high school. I'll take it from there. Thanks.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. We need.
graduate from
Yeah. We need.
graduate from high school. Come see me.
Yeah. We need labor workforce, and that's one thing. One of my business development managers you met, Landon. He's
Right.
telling you just go to high schools and start recruiting, just like the military kind of does. It's just get there, get their attention. Because look, I get it. Education. We need the next education, and you do sometimes need college degrees, but learning in the field, I've had these conversations with a lot of people. It's like, when the engineers go to get engineering degrees, they really don't have a lot of field experience. And then they come out, they're an engineer, they do book work, they're going through the book, and then they send it out to the field, and the field guys are like, what is this? That kind
Yeah.
of stuff. It's like, wait, it doesn't
and
make any sense. So,
yeah, and that's the interesting thing. And of course, again, if you're predisposed and I highly recommend engineering as a first class education and a place to
yeah,
go. But I'm also, if you're not that much into college and you don't want to spend even at Purdue's prices of 25 grand a year,
yeah,
you don't want to spend 100 grand for 4 years. You know, you can start in a career, with us, and in 4 years' time, probably be making $70,000+ to, heading toward $100,000 a year yourself.
right,
You don't have to. There's no. That's the misnomer, and that's what I talk to a lot of guys in the construction industry, the building trades, operating engineers, and they all say the same thing. Hey, you come to work for us, you get through the training programs, you actually work hard and make an effort, you get paid to learn, and in the end, it won't be hard to make $30 an hour, and have benefits, and with overtime and all that other stuff, those numbers just escalate
yeah,
up.
right, yeah,
They just escalate up,
yeah, true,
and those are real quality jobs.
yeah.
That's a real job.
So, kind of going into, obviously, we have a labor shortage right now. We have, a lot of procurement opportunities out there. We have a lot of infrastructure funds coming in from the federal side of things. How have you, as a CEO, decided to move your company in the direction to kind of, labor shortages? How do you keep your business growing? Is basically what I'm trying to get to with that.
Well, we just continue to work hard, like you said. We continue to work hard at recruiting. I'm trying to find new angles of attack, talking to the local high schools, trying to get in on the ground floor,
Nice.
just like you've talked about. With infrastructure is a high priority for most people across the board, and be it water or sewer, roads and bridges, new buildings, new houses, you can list them all out.
Yeah.
And so there's oodles of opportunity. So yes, it's recruitment, uh, and then getting people that will help you, move forward. And like I say, we're trying to use every trick in our book,
Right.
and talk to everybody we can talk to,
Yeah.
about opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's a great place as you as a CEO. One of the things I respect about you is you're you've been in the industry a long time. You've been running ME Simpson for a long time. You as a CEO, I see you have adapted to bringing in the millennials and stuff like that, and being an open place where you can learn a lot about the infrastructure world and get into this business, which is amazing to your benefit. Great job. Um,
Thanks.
Sticking to infrastructure though, and going a little bit back to technology, what are some of the other problems you've been finding in this space where we all compete with technology and infrastructure?
I think the only not it, well, the problem that I see is in some cases people are entrenched in we've done it this way for the last 100 years, and they're not good. People in general are never good with change, and so the hard part is getting them to realize why they need to change, the true value of change, and how it actually is for and to their benefit, not only as a person, but their utility. Use an example. One of the things we see all the time in the water loss area is people don't test their production meters, or they tell me they test them, and what they're doing is the 4 to 20 milliamp signal test from the head of the water meter back to the computer, to the SCADA board.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making sure that that's operating properly so that the signal's correct, so the reading's correct.
Right.
And that's a valuable part of the test. Unfortunately, it has nothing to do with the physical water meter. And so they're not testing the physical water meter. They're testing the signal from the head to the computer.
Wow.
The physical water meter, you need to do a physical test on to verify that it is functioning properly and accurately.
Wow.
And so that's been and the problem is people adapted to that and got used to that over the last, I'm going to say, 50 plus years, probably 100.
Wow.
And they just look at you all confused. Well, we've always done it this way.
Yeah.
And it's nobody's fault. It's just a habit that got started in places, and slowly but surely we have been re-educating and making changes and helping utilities move forward.
Let's talk about that meter real quick, because that's data that is estimated mostly, right? Is that the case? And I'm still learning some more about the water meters and things like that.
Water meters, it's not estimated. Water meters are measuring or counting the amount of gallons flowing by.
Right.
And so, the thing is with a we have mechanical meters that are kind of the backbone and would have been there forever. Now you're hearing a lot about solid state meters. They're the ones with no moving parts in it.
Okay.
You'll hear a term mag meter. That's
Right.
a particular brand style. There's numerous solid state type meters that use ultrasonic technology, magnetic technology. They use several different technologies.
Yeah.
So there's no moving parts, but it's still measuring the flow of water.
Yeah.
And what we're professing to people, especially on the mechanical side, the mechanical style, but on all styles, is that annual regular testing of these meters, these large meters at your production facilities, at your wells, whatever it is, you want to know what you're introducing into the system. That helps you with your water loss components, your water audit, so you know what you introduced, and then you've got something to measure against. Because if that information's inaccurate, everything down the road is inaccurate. It's meaningless.
100%.
And it's the same too. You want to measure it because in your production thing, you're measuring so you know how much quote chemicals to feed in when you're treating the water. You want to measure it so you do it correctly, so you have the right balance to treat the water so it's safe to drink, clean. And and that goes to chlorine just as well, because that's the agent we use against bacteria.
Right.
And I need to be able to measure.
Right.
I need it to be accurate because we need it correct. So that's one of the biggest reasons for testing, is just in a big case, it's verification. Hey, it is working right. Thumbs up. We're moving forward.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
But when it's not right, then we need to fix it, calibrate it, adjust it, and get it back to where it's correct, so we know what we're doing.
So sticking to that, it sounds like these mechanical meters, and I'm still learning about meters. Obviously, I don't
Yeah,
know
no, that's
everything.
right.
Obviously, this is great. Uh, the mechanical meters sound like is there still a lot of mechanical meters out there?
Vast majority, yes, vast majority.
That sounds like
So
a
you're
problem,
talking
right?
about,
That
pardon?
sounds like a big problem.
No, most of those meters are very accurate and work fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no, I mean it age is a component, no question. Water quality is a component that has an effect on wear on an inside of a meter. But most meters, your house meter, at commercial complexes, big industry, most are still mechanical.
Okay,
People are starting to change to solid
yeah,
state. That's happened starting to happen more in the last 10 years.
okay,
So that's why I say the vast majority of meters out there, whether it's at your house, whatever, or what's considered a mechanical meter, that just means it has moving parts on the inside that's measuring the flow of water and sending that count to the meter head, and then that meter's read,
got it.
you know.
So a lot of reports. Obviously, there's a lot of water main breaks, a lot of leak
Right.
in the system, right? And so, how is ME Simpson looking at, obviously with electroscan and some other technology, how is ME Simpson looking at solutions to those problems that are out there?
Well, we're in the middle of a couple of pilot studies, uh, deploying listening. I call them listening devices, but nodes that will go on valves and go on fire hydrants that listen 24 hours a day.
Okay,
And that's kind of a proactive approach to leak detection, because the goal is you'll never stop main breaks. Main breaks will occur. Leaks are a living, breathing animal, as I say. They're always going to happen. But we're now out there promoting putting these systems out and monitoring them every day. And I'm looking for that leak that starts that I can proactively fix before it breaks. It's not as much, it's about saving water and saving money,
right,
because it's just wasted production money uh, when it spills on the ground and nobody's paying for
right,
it. But at the same time, it also, you've seen it, you've seen the pictures, infrastructure. I'll use Valpo. You get a big rain break in the middle of downtown Valpo on Lincoln Way. You flood a couple basements. It causes hundreds of thousands of dollars of property
right,
damage. That's what you're trying to avoid. So if that leak starts small and we know about it today, you can fix it tomorrow before it continues, because leaks grow,
yeah,
just over time. And the pipe flexes because the ground moves. And it's just a combination of all those little things. And age does sometimes have a factor. And that's what causes, you've seen the stuff in Dixmoor, Illinois, where they're having so many problems. And it's very old pipe, and slowly but surely they're going to have to work on replacing that pipe. There's no magic wand or brush that's going to, for any water system, no matter whom you are, it is. But it's also talks about how we've ignored investment over time. Right now, everybody, I'm sure, is reading, seeing. They're talking about Jackson, Mississippi,
right.
and it really wasn't a flood that caused Jackson's woes. It made it worse, didn't
Yeah,
help,
it just made it worse,
but
right?
but Jackson, Mississippi, sadly, that water system has been neglected for decades. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and they won't hire me, because I say it, but it's been run poorly.
Yeah,
Sorry, you can call me, you can write me letters and say I'm mean, but it's been run
yeah,
poorly. And they have not invested in the system. And what they have invested obviously hasn't been good investments, the best I can tell.
$61 million
And
budget
yeah,
every year, water and sewer.
and
Way to go.
and so it's that's a problem. And this is Jackson is just a
Small.
it's a microcosm
Yep.
of a much larger problem nationwide. They're just making press right now, and it's sad. I feel terrible
Yeah.
for all those residents. I don't want them to drink bad water. I think they deserve to have quality water
Sure.
at their fingertips, at their tap, no questions asked. I'm really on their side. It's just sadly they're in the state that they're in,
Right.
you know, but that shows you the problems that are around the country.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
everywhere.
and they exist and they're real. And you don't have to be Jackson where, they may be more economically disadvantaged. It can be in affluent areas too. Don't ever assume the affluent areas might be luckier because they've got more money to throw at
Right.
it. But everybody has the same problem.
Everybody's got
That's
smoking
for
guns
real.
waiting to go off. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's got the same issue.
Yeah. No doubt.
And it has to be dealt with. And it's aged infrastructure that we've all left sit too long.
Yep.
And not that the pipes aren't good, even at 100 years old. I've seen some stuff at our East Coast operations in Wilmington, Delaware,
Yeah.
that, is probably close to 150 years old. Cast iron pipe that's got to be this thick. And
Yeah.
I've seen it, looks perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So there's not a big incentive to want to get rid of it. I wouldn't. That'd be a waste of money. But you can ask the guys at Wilmington, and it's a good client of ours, and they're pounding away at pipe replacement in areas of town. They have a list. They are working it every day.
Are they working it more on historic? You kind of mentioned the pipe is 150 years old. Are they doing triage of this system first?
They're doing triage in advance. They're doing studies.
Nice.
That's some of the programs we offer with our pipe rank AI services, as well as our ePulse, which is an actual boots on the ground checking segments of pipe program. We're helping. They have their engineering team, service teams that are out there. So they're trying to be strategic in their replacement, and it's, using history and knowledge and, trying to be, as methodical as possible, because everybody's aware, replacing 5,280 feet of pipe, a mile of pipe, is going to cost you it's got to be, depending on where you're at least $1.5 million a mile.
Yeah.
And so, it adds up real fast. Yeah. And when you have 200 or 2,000 miles of pipe, that's math, and it comes fast, and there's a lot more to it than people realize. It's just not an easy button to go replace that pipe.
Yep.
And it takes work.
A lot of planning that takes place, and a lot of
planning, a lot of organization. But there are proactive, like our client in Wilmington, Delaware, very proactive. They're on top of it. And there's lots around here in the Chicago metro, Northwest Indiana. Everybody is. I'm watching a lot of pragmatic, proactive. City of Chicago, we work with them. Their engineering group, boy, they're on top of it. They're one of the better ones I see out there. It's just, it's hard.
Yeah.
They've got a big system, and it's just,
right. Yeah.
It's not an easy button. It's going to take time. And right now their emergency biggest focus deals with all the lead service lines.
Yeah.
And
that's another.
That is, is again another ME Simpson Company service. We have, using ElectroScan technology, I can help you find the unknown services and tell you what the material is. it's for the stuff that you don't have records for. It's a very specific thing, but I know the audience, everyone is aware by October 15th or 16th of 2024, you must have turned into the EPA your uh, your mitigation plan, but most importantly, you have to turn in your inventory. And if you have 12,000 services, you have to tell them exactly what all 12,000 services are.
Wow.
And that's hard and fast. And now I think that date's going to have to slip, because simply I don't think people can go fast enough.
Right.
Because I think it's by, I don't know the date, in 2027, but if you read the EPA rules and regulations, all lead has to be out of the ground by 2027. I think that's, I might be reading that wrong. I'm gonna have to go look it up again. I'm going
That's for sure.
I'm going from memory. I've read so many things,
Right.
and it all goes. That's why in the infrastructure bill there was $15 billion set aside specifically for lead mitigation in drinking water systems.
Right.
Basically $3 billion per year for the next 5 years.
Wow.
And in the congressmen I've spoken with from Indiana, I've told all of them, get prepared for that to slip. And I said, guys, I think you're going to need a little more money. I think the number's not right.
Yeah.
It's no offense. I mean, everybody's doing their best estimate. I'm not criticizing. But I said, based on our manpower struggles, I don't think we can get it done in a 5-year time frame. It's going to be really, really hard. Yeah. And not because nobody doesn't want to, it's because we can't.
We don't have enough resources. Yeah.
I don't think there's enough resources out there. It'll be interesting, but it's in all the utilities we're speaking with, that we do business with, obviously, just getting the inventory done so they can present their mitigation plans. Just getting the inventory done is a task. Yeah. And like I say, we're finding that most utilities are finding that in their records, 10 to even up to 20% on some, they have no records. They don't know what's underground.
Wow.
And hey, you got to remember, some of this stuff was put in 100 years ago, and even 50 years ago, but think most development, if you think about where we live in Northwest Indiana and the greater metropolitan area, most stuff, the heavy building was in 45 to now, but you're going back all the way to 1950s when all these suburbs blew up and everything was installed.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that they're missing pieces. Stuff happens. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
They did not have the advent today of computers and databases and all the other stuff. So, I'm not pointing a finger at somebody going, what do you mean you can't tell me what these are? Because that it's a foolish finger to point. It's a realism that, I bet I can't. We had, I'm sure there are missing records from 1979 when we started this business that I probably can't find anymore. Who knows if probably were destroyed or tossed out because nobody thought about it, that kind of stuff.
Interesting segue into what you're kind of getting to is data, right? Infrastructure data. And I feel like, in my opinion, that we need a centralized database for infrastructure to help communities understand what they actually have and how to budget appropriately.
Well,
what do you think?
Yeah, nowadays, I mean, Indiana, specifically Indiana, requires an asset management plan that has to be turned in. It's got to be a 5-year plan. It's got to be records. most utilities, and it continues to grow every day, are coming to life with data management systems, GIS systems. They're digitizing their records. They're actually doing better than you think. I don't know
Sure.
that you need a central repository,
Okay.
but yes, most utilities need to have a robust data management program for their water and sewer.
Right.
And quite frankly, you can add in roads,
Right.
sidewalks, trees in the park stuff. I've got utilities I know that the city's GIS program, they even have the trees documented and GPSed.
That's great.
Because the parks department has the swing set and the teeter totter.
Yeah.
Now
Cool.
everybody chuckles, but I'm like,
Cool.
but you have to document all of that.
Yeah.
You should have a running inventory of all your stuff.
100%.
I just call it stuff.
Stuff.
And no different than your house when you're in the basement and you're pulling those plastic totes out and you open it up and it's a surprise and you're like, wow.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at this is from 1983. My wife did that to me the other day and she said, "Get rid of this." And I'm like, "But these are treasures." And she goes, "It's junk."
Yeah.
But it goes to that, is there's no question that we have to be, and with today's technology is an advantage,
Mhm.
we have to be super more aggressive about these inventories and about managing our data and managing our databases. And utilities really are stepping up to this, and this, hey, that's what Flint, Michigan did. Sadly, tragically, it woke everybody up to some very interesting and concerning problems.
Yeah, it did.
And what we're seeing in Jackson, Mississippi is another example
Right.
of, so far nobody's gotten sick and nobody has had anything bad happen so far.
Yeah.
Scares me to death that somebody could. But that's the problem with Flint. We were poisoning, not poisoning is a mean word, but lead was leaching into the system and little children were drinking that water. How about that for an answer?
Yeah.
And so, yes, in simple terms, in mean terms, we were poisoning little children.
Right.
And it was wrong.
Right.
And it was a failure. That was a hardcore failure of humans.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing in Jackson is a hardcore failure of humans.
And the fact that they even knew that was a major problem and still didn't fix it is amazing to me.
Again, that's when I say we get into the words hardcore failure of human beings.
No, it's true.
You can buy all the technology in the world and all the whiz-bang toys, still takes humans.
100%.
And what we're seeing when we see these things, the failure is always comes back to, they don't want to admit it, but it's human failure. And we screwed up. And instead of owning it, they deflect and blame someone. I've already, I've read all the articles. This is great prep for the conversation, because that's the conversation I was having with one of our engineers before I jumped on with you.
Nice.
We were talking about Jackson and the failure of stupid human tricks,
100%.
as I call them.
I'm sure we can talk about a lot of like what involves humans and their decision making and what involves all that. That's a whole nother conversation. Right. But all right, so we got another minute. We'll wrap it up. But tell us, how to get a hold of Emmy Simpson and how you
can very simply, you can go to emmysimpson.com, look at our website. It'll tell you all the different water and wastewater services we offer for utilities. Our services are all designed around building programs for you to teach you how to do it or turnkey. You can call me at 800-255-1521.
I love that you took that number.
Yeah, it's, or just email Mike at mesimpson.com.
You're going to get a lot of emails.
It comes, that's fine. You can email me directly. It's no big deal. I will do my best to answer you quickly and efficiently, but we can offer a lot of services and a lot of things to help. And like I say, right now, the big one is we have the technology to help identify those unknown services. But obviously the standard leak detection for water or leak detection for sewer, as I say, they're the same thing. Water, it's escaping the pipe. On the sewer side, it's getting in the pipe. So pick a poison. It doesn't matter. But we have the technologies and the abilities to help you with all those problems, and your water meters and your valves and hydrants, all that good stuff.
Great.
So
thank you so much, Mike. This has been great.
Thanks.
I 100% am going to reach out again where we're going to have another podcast.
I
think we have more to talk about in that human.
We've got a number of things, Chad. We're going to have to probably sit down and lay out an outline of some of the cool infrastructure things we should be talking about.
That's for sure. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mike.
Appreciate your time. You have a great day. Thanks, Chad. Have a good one. See ya. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. We hope that this show brought you some insight on relevant topics within the infrastructure world. Please join us every 2 weeks on Tuesday for the next episode. If you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, please set up a 15-minute interview with your host at calendly.com/Chad Smeltzer.